This is the story of the removal, protection, and relocation of the Great Walls of Indian Heritage.
Who is Robert Eaglestaff? Robert Eaglestaff was the principal of Indian Heritage School.
Well, it takes your breath away, first of all, and to capture a man that gave so much to this community, that gave his life for this community, did indeed leave a legacy behind.
A bigger-than-life guy. He was a tall man, imposing in physical stature.
Well, he's always been a good ball player. His height.
Much respect to the Seattle School District naming the school after a co-founder for Indian kids across, the Puget Sound.
He was a good example to all the students and then people in the community. He was a very good role model.
The kindness and the gentleness that he espoused and how he presented himself. Gentle, firm, and always just listening.
How my husband knew Bob Eaglestaff is he was a basketball player, so they used to play ball a lot together at that gym too.
Oh, I first played with him in 40 and over tournament, and that was the last tournament that he ever played in, before passing away on the powwow trail.
To me, he was an advocate for children's education.
Look at Indian Heritage.
Indian Heritage School.
The Indian Heritage School.
Indian Heritage High School.
Heritage has been that place.
Indian Heritage School to me was a place where not only the education of the youth occurred, but it was a place where we as Native folks would come for powwows.
I think about that's where we used to gather as Native people in Seattle.
What it was like going to Indian Heritage, it was exciting. It was pretty cool. I liked every moment of it. It was around nothing but natives.
I'm Lakota and Haida, but it was a place where I could meet both sides of my family, but it was a place where I could meet folks like Robert Eaglestaff and Andrew Morrison.
This is a sacred site, and we're going to prove that.
A site that has a deep traditional, a deep connection to the people spiritually.
The first mural that I painted at the Indian Heritage School was painted in 2001, and I painted it as I was volunteering at the Indian Heritage High School in their culture class.
What do I think of Andrew Morrison's artwork? I think the best way I can answer that is that it's unique.
I think Andrew is a key in bringing the history to the forefront on behalf of the city, named after our chief.
I think we're really lucky to have Andrew as part of our community in the Northwest.
Working with Andrew Morrison was quite the experience. It was an amazing experience. I'm very grateful to meet somebody who can actually do the type of artwork for his culture.
And Andrew, as a gift as an artist, he's a very talented person and a great friend of mine and friend of my family.
Andrew became a good brother of mine. I still have much love and much respect for him. He does a lot for the people across, Turtle Island. So, it was cool. It was creative put us together.
Andrew's a prime example. Look where he started. Look where he's at today.
He has done so much, and he's a very, when he's growing up, I could see that he was a strong person, hearted person, and get things done in his own little playland. And then growing up in the high school, I've seen that he is going to be a leader. And I always tell his father that he's going to become someone, and he's working it up to this mural that he did is so great.
Andrew's art has impact.
I think Andrew Morrison's artwork is pretty amazing. These enormous murals on the side of schools and buildings. It's such a testament and such a testimony to the greatness of the Native American people, the First Nation people.
And I'm proud to say that he is my son, and he's Apache.
Why is it important to preserve the Andrew Morrison murals? That's a really good question.
It's like Picasso or any other brilliant piece of art. You know, it shouldn't be desecrated. It shouldn't be torn down.
I strongly believe it's very important for our Native people that these kind of cultural representations, these symbols, these powerful symbols are reserved and preserved. And
it's very, very, very important that they were preserved. And I'm very honored to be Andrew's sister that created this and fought for his murals to stay in the neighborhood.
I would propose that we preserve the existing art.
I believe in the power of the people and the love for the gifts that Andrew has given to the community here. And that's why I'm here, because I wanted to help preserve these for the community.
And glad the artwork got preserved and it's still here.
It's powerful. It's a powerful thing to see, and
it's powerful.
There's two sides to each story, and there's only one side being told. And this is a way that we show that there's the other side of the story.
I think the importance of the history of this Seattle is very important, and we need to forecast it and we need to honor it.
This Seattle Art Museum consultant that on outdoor murals said to us that these murals that Andrew painted are the best on the West Coast. That means they're really good, because there's some really good murals on the West Coast. So,
you know, in ancient ways, people spoke through pictures, not letters. So this is, to me, bringing us back to the ancient ways.
That passion of the genesis of how it all began. And
when I heard that they were going to save the murals, it brought hope back.
I think cross-cultural understanding is probably the key reason that these murals are important to save and reinstall in the two new schools.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can figure out and how they can integrate them.
Construction began in June of 2015. Nickel Brothers was awarded the contract for the removal, protection, and relocation of the murals.
So Nickel Bros, we reached out to them in the early process of when we realized that we wanted to salvage these murals and relocate them, something that none of us on the design team or even within Leidig have ever done. So we reached out to the community and our business partners and Nickel Bros, who is well known in the community for moving large structures.
Nickel Brothers started by digging a trench below and around all 8 murals so that steel A-frames could be put into place. What was it like for me watching the construction team remove and then relocate, cut the walls out of the school? It was invigorating. It was intense. It was life-changing. And it, you know, redefined my spirit as an artist and baptized me, to be honest.
The challenges in this project started off from the beginning of the design all the way through to the very end into actually incorporating them into the new structure itself.
Evergreen Concrete Cutting was awarded the contract to cut through the concrete walls of the murals. Evergreen Concrete Cutting began cutting the 4 large tilt-up walls of the gymnasium at the Old Indian Heritage. Each concrete tilt-up wall is 10 inches thick and reinforced with steel rebar. A diamond-bladed steel saw was used to cut through the concrete.
How many companies, resources, partners helped to make this a success? I think I'll probably leave a few out, but I would say anywhere between 10 and 20. And that goes from obviously the school district, the design consultants, Malem Architects, CPL engineers, Leidig, Andrew Morrison, Nickel Bros, SCI, there's NI Painting, there's PCI Framing, there's Earthscapes Landscaping, everybody, McLean Ironworks, the list can go on and on and on.
Construction of the A-frame.
Sigage udijan, sigage udijan, tihyagans hagudangang, sigage udijan, sigage udijan, tihanagya, si halanganai tihyagyagang, sigage.
Wood beam fastened to the steel A-frames.
And the A-frames that we use to hold them from, keeping them upright and also making sure that they wouldn't go up and down was a success of, why they did not crumble apart.
The A-frames being mounted. Half of the A-frames were put into place, and then the other half was put into place on the interior of the building, and then the wall would be sandwiched and stood upright as both A-frames were then welded together. These were really hot days, upwards of 90 degrees.
How do you protect the murals? And so there was a lot of discussion about, well, are they going to fall apart when you start to move a wall that's 24 by 24?
Were there concerns of the walls falling apart? The answer to that question is yes.
I feel born again. I feel like, my purpose, my calling was manifesting in front of my eyes.
The weight of the concrete murals weighing over 55,000 pounds, and how to move those safely without doing any damage to those murals. Those were the challenges.
Hydraulic dollies put into place.
Steps taken to make sure that they did not fall apart was, again, going back to the design team, going back to the collaboration from all of us put together with our professionals, our design consultants, our structural engineers, Leidig and Andrew, many meetings collaborating and developing a structural membrane that actually held the walls in place while we cut them out and removed them with hydraulics to keep them so they weren't moving in large amounts of, I should say, undulations.
The Sitting Bull mural now being moved foot by foot. It is remote control operated. The murals are being removed and then stored on the same site in a safe location. They were painted and created from a pure place. They came from my heart, and they were made in love, and that's what they represent. Excavation of the Longhouse mural. The saw would get so hot that it had to be cooled while in use during these 90-degree days. The A-frames are now attached and the gym totally demolished. Nickel Brothers removes the murals from the cafeteria, which are on CMU walls, concrete mortar walls. There's a lot of variables involved with the CMU walls.
The CMU walls, we were really nervous about the structural integrity, how much reinforcing was in those walls.
The CMU walls, concrete mortar walls, were reinforced with steel backing. The CMU walls were the most difficult part of the move.
How do you protect the murals, and how do you disengage them, and then how do you store them?
So, and what that entailed was, again, saw cutting the murals out of the existing building, relocating them to a safely storaged area, and then relocating them into the new structure and to the finished stages of where the murals were going. And we overcame that with numerous meetings and a lot of collaboration.
Industrial strength shrink wrap was used to protect and wrap the murals and keep them safe from dust and rain and wind and other natural elements. Vents were put into place to allow ventilation.
And we covered them with a boat shrink wrap and put vents in the boat shrink wrap when they're at their storage locations. Therefore, the murals could breathe during the wet seasons.
All 8 murals relocated onto the same site for storage of 6 months to a year.
And then how do you re-engage them into the 2 new schools and where they might be located?
The murals were first to be placed in both schools for sequencing of the structural steel and the framing. We were not able to set the murals after the structural steel was placed, so we had to set the structure, or the murals first, and then erect the steel behind the murals, and then do a design build of how we were going to attach those murals to that structure.
Fall 2015. The murals are to be the first part of the construction in both new schools. Foundation of the schools being built. Cascadia Elementary was scheduled ahead of the Robert Eaglestaff Middle School. The murals being welded into the construction of the steel frames. November 2015. Foundation for the Longhouse. The Longhouse mural put into place. A trench was dug for the footings and the foundation of the 4 large murals, which would equal 100 feet long. A 100-foot long footing and foundation for the large 4 murals. February 2016.
And then also we wanted the murals there so we can actually dimension and actually finish the design of how we were going to incorporate the new structure to the murals.
Really cold days, 30 degrees.
Weather was a factor in relocation and removal of the murals, and how we overcame that. Well, you never really overcome it. You just plan accordingly and you work around it. You pick the days that you can actually move the murals where you've got solid ground. You create pathways with crushed rock, and elevation changes aren't drastic.
Nickel Brothers construction team worked in chilling 30-degree weather. Torrential rain wouldn't let up, and dirt became layers of mud that all equipment sank into. The Sitting Bull mural now being moved by Nickel Brothers into the gymnasium of Robert Eaglestaff Middle School. February 2017, all 8 murals put into place of both new schools.
But don't marginalize them. Bring them out into the front so kids that come to school will interact with them and see them on a daily basis.
The construction process of building this new school was extremely unique.
This project was unique in many ways. One being that we were taking a piece of history and art that Andrew Morrison had beautifully painted on these walls years ago, and we wanted to remove them from the existing building and then reestablish them into the new building of both Cascadia Elementary and Robert Eaglestaff Middle School.
So in order for this process to happen, for these walls to stay preserved, was almost a miracle and a blessing all in one. It's completely almost unheard of to keep anything old, to incorporate it into a new structure, a new foundation, a new building.
I gotta hand it to my brother Andrew for this because I've never heard of anybody doing this, and it's amazing.
What I think about crown dancers, when I was growing up, we used to have a lot of respect for them because they are mostly the only character, as you would say, as the gathering going on that people would like to have dance for their daughter or healing dance.
March 2017.
comes to Indian people, there's a lot of prayers behind this portrait. And once you look at it, you know, that's someone's blood, sweat, and tears. Prayers are answered because these portraits got to stay here. So his prayers are answered. My buddy Andrew, throughout Indian country, they represent all of us. And they got history behind Sitting Bull, Chief Joseph, and all those guys. There's history behind them.
You know, Chief Joseph actually is, he was actually strong, very closely related to our Yakima Indian chief, Kamaikan. They were actually first cousins. So there was a very strong bond of the Plateau people. So
in 2002, I understand that Mayor Greg Nichols honored Andrew and said how much he appreciated his work of Chief Seattle, and that this was one of the largest commemorations of Chief Seattle in our community.
The correct pronunciation of the chief's name is Chief Seattle. Well, he was elected by the people to represent these two tribes, Suquamish and Tuamish. I am honored and delightful to see that image because it's a showcase of the chief that represented Seattle. The stories I heard about the chief when the settlers started showing up here at that time, which was in the early 1800s, 1830s and 40s, whatever that year was, he was very peaceful and he welcomed people. That was the Indian way.
I'm Hunkpapa Lakota. Sitting Bull was Hunkpapa Lakota. He was a leader of his people, spiritual leader. But he had a life that he led, it seemed, from what I can tell, of principle and character.
With Geronimo, this is what I'm thinking, that he is a great leader, a great chief in our time that we can remember. As I was growing up as the same too, I used to hear about him with my great-great-grandmother's father talk about him. And
people that really start getting set free, and really start walking in power and truth and authority, and really start singing songs and those dances, and that healing of the heart begins to take place.
Well, when I was growing up, there was nothing that forecast that there was any indigenous people of Seattle.
When I was growing up, a lot of people never even met Native American kids, and Seattle is more diverse than it was when I was growing up. But when I was growing up in our school, I was the only Native child there for years and years and years.
In my era, I was the only Native American in my school. I was the only kid that had long hair that wasn't a girl. So it was rough. It was very hard for me to go to school with long hair, braided hair. I always got picked on, called names.
Oh, we want these Indians out of here. And that's what they did. They pushed us out, burned down all our longhouses, and tried to erase the history.
And you can't just destroy us. You can't just take us down. You can't tear us down and build your version of our America.
How does the murals at the schools change the future of the kids? Well, first of all, the kids that go to school there are going to realize that Native Americans are still alive.
I actually see the future of my artwork going to a scale that dwarfs these murals that stand behind me.
I think it'll change the future of the kids because they will know where the history of that school has been and how far along it's come.
I see a future of unlimited potential. I see a boundless, motivating tidal wave of glory going from the kindergartners all the way to the 12th graders, all the way to the principals, and permeating throughout the counselors, and all the way to the superintendent of Seattle Public Schools, all the way to the mayor and the governor of Washington State. April 2017, construction of the honoring circle began.
To our elders who teach us of our creation and our past, so we may preserve Mother Earth for ancestors yet to come, we are the land.
This is dedicated to our relatives before us, thousands of years ago, and to the 150 million who were exterminated across the Western Hemisphere in the first 400 years' time, starting in 1492.
To those who have kept their homelands, and to the nations extinct due to mass slaughter, slavery, deportation, and disease unknown to them, and to the ones who are subjected to the same treatment today. To the ones who survived the relocations and the ones who died along the way. To those who carried on traditions and lived strong among their people. To those who left their communities by force or by choice and for generations no longer know who they are.
To those who search and never find, to those that turn away the so-called non-accepted, to those that bring us together, and to those living outside keeping touch, the voice for many.
To those that make it back to live and fight the struggles of their people, to those that give up and those who do not care, to those who abuse themselves and others, and those who revive again, to those who are physically, mentally, or spiritually incapable by accident or by birth. To those who seek strength in our spirituality and ways of life, and those who exploit it, even our own. To those who
Earth, wind, water, and fire element incorporated into the honoring circle. Red glass was used to be placed into the concrete while it was still wet to represent the fire element. May 2017.
And religion, innocent or guilty.
To the young, the old, the living, and the dead, to our brothers and sisters and all living things across Mother Earth, and her beauty we've destroyed, and denied the honor that the Creator has given each individual.
The truth that lies in our hearts, all my relations.
It was suggested to purchase a boulder for the center stone of the honoring circle, and John Paul Jones declined this. He said during initial construction digging, most likely a boulder would be buried deep within the earth and it could be found. This insight came to fruition with the discovery of this stone that was chosen by him and I to be the epicenter of the honoring circle. All our relatives can and will learn. Robert Eaglestaff. This we know, all things are connected, Chief Sealth. It does not require many words to speak the truth, Chief Joseph. Let us put our minds together and see what life we can make for our children, Sitting Bull. The sun, the darkness, the winds are all listening to what we have to say, Geronimo. The steel being painted black for a sleek look, encasing all of the 8 murals in a frame. May 2017.
You know, if you sit and look at it long enough, you can see them move. You can hear their stories. You can see the people, their thoughts.
But when you have structure and you have harmony, then power begins to flow, just like the body.
Partners of Lydic Construction are painting the red above the murals. It helps to highlight the contrast of the black and white.
As you can see, it's time for battle again. We got the troops ready. I just pray I come to you and ask you give us strength, make us brave. And when it's time to die, I ask you put no fear in my heart, in the hearts of all of us.
The site is now 90% complete.
What happens if something gets damaged? You know, can Andrew come back in and fix that?
June 2017. During the 2 years of construction, small tarnishes that developed to the walls and murals needed to be touched up.
Oh, well, there's going to be some cracks in the pictures that we're going to just fill in and then do some touch-up paint before clear coating it to make it look new again.
I'm working on the touch-ups now, which is the final stage of the Great Walls of Indian Heritage. I've had a lot of feelings that have been dormant come to the surface throughout the day and throughout the week. You know, some of the feelings that have been dormant that have reemerged have been original feelings and emotions of why I started painting at this scale, and also why I started painting with spray paint. I started this section here, which was painted back in 2001, and I put a brand new coat of paint over a lot of it, starting with the black when I painted these murals, and I used Krylon, so it's been invigorating to use such a new tool. I had gotten so used to using the old school method and the old school way. Okay, I've been working on retouching heather for the last few hours, and it's been inspiring. Towards the beginning of the touch-up work, there was a lot of tarnishes to it. A lot of the paint was chipping off due to the construction and the cinder block movement. And in comparison to all 8 murals, I would say the most intense touch-up work is this particular area right here. It's pretty easy to get overwhelmed with this if you don't know what you're doing. Even if you do know what you're doing, I'm kind of taking it literally cinder block by cinder block by cinder block, and the more cinder blocks I'm working on, it's like putting together a puzzle. It's starting to really fit, and I'm starting to catch a rhythm, and it's feeling really natural, and I'm starting to feel just really great about it. And I'm gonna take this feeling and finish this mural tomorrow, and then go to the Chilliwack mural, which is the entry mural of Cascadia Elementary, and then go to the Robert Eagle Staff Middle School and finish the touch-up work.
In the whip, I'm stabbing on the chick I'm grabbing. I play getting chips in any kind of fashion and keeps it cracking like Rice Krispies. And in my city, the homies call me Zippy cause I got it locked up airtight. And I do what I gotta, so no, this ain't no fair fight. From the radio to the studio, I'm on that frequency. A true gentleman treating chicks with decency. Straight out the produce with the fresh flow. Saturday night dress code, courtesy of Calvin Klein. High profiling and buck wildin' and getting more love than a Valentine. They peep game from a distance. Millenniums and eons of evolution went into my existence. Obligated to fan bam, nephews and infants. Babysitting and picking up the boy at the bus stop. This is what I do on a daily basis while you chumps get mug shots. Getting booked on some BS, calling mom for help. You should've listened with Pop Dukes beat you with that bell. As bad as I want oxygen, I wanna be the best. As bad as I want oxygen, I wanna keep it fresh. As bad as I want oxygen, dressing to impress. As bad as I want oxygen, I want the success. Kaz and jaw dropping when I do hip hopping. D-boys went from picking cotton to 3 months cropping. It's rotten and the grizz is iffy. Do what you can, kids, show business risky. I'm sidestepping you loan and sharks. Walk my own walk and talk my own talk and build my own Noah's Ark. It take a lot of guts and telepathic mind controls a must. On a journey at 30 and I'm just getting started. Looking so young and so hip, I'm still getting carded. Unlimited bound by Nathan Infinite is at my fingertips, and you best to know the freshest kids are singing this. The family's behind us. Push it all up and different genres and take it to you prima donnas. Double back zipping, conviction, hit the exit. Ray Lewis when I do this, push the 365 to get out that record. We had a humble beginning, but now that's in the past. Put it all on blast, home run mentality. Knock it out the ballpark and
as
smash.
As bad as I want oxygen,
I wanna be the best.
As bad as I want oxygen,
I wanna keep it fresh.
As bad as I want oxygen,
dressing to impress.
As bad as I want oxygen,
I want the success.
As bad as I want oxygen,
I wanna be the best.
As bad as I want oxygen,
I wanna keep it fresh.
As bad as I want oxygen,
dressing to impress.
As bad as I want oxygen,
I want the success.
How do I feel now that the project is complete and the actual murals have been successfully built into the foundation of the new schools? I feel excited. I feel excited for my future. I feel excited for the future of the arts.
The spirit and the power of these people and the power of Andrew as the artist is beaming through again.
Today's image of natives, I think, has gotten a lot better.
Andrew was able to have a say as to where his artwork went to. And I think that the community, the native community, and the community around got a sense that, you know, it's not just a bunch of murals going, but there's a unity to it.
We're planting a seed for the generations coming that we need to be united as Indian people.
As the creator of these murals, what do they mean to me? Tribal unity.
And then other tribes across the United States and in the world see that we can fight. We can win small battles.
Why was it important for the murals to be landmarked?
I think it was important for the murals to be landmarked because they're a staple in the Native American society.
They stuck out, boom, just like, you know, everybody could see it, just like total landmark.
The landmark that we have of the artwork is really changing things the way people look at us as a people.
It's such a magnificent artwork that my son Andrew had done, and it represents all the Indians here in Seattle or all over that can be seen, that we are not lost generation, lost people. We are a proud people, and that's how they would see it. Like Mount Rushmore, where the presidents are, you know, this is kind of like that.
We call it the native Mount Rushmore, is what in our family we've learned to call it, because when you drive by it, you can't help but like look at it in awe.
I've seen the power and magnitude of what the images can do, how they can change the city, how they can become landmarks.
What it means for Seattle District to have this artwork on one of their schools, I sort of think it means, you know, that we're still here, you know, we're not going nowhere, you know, and, you know, pray that, you know, generations yet to come, you know what I'm saying, would be more natives, you know, graduate school, graduate high school, middle school, elementary school, even colleges.
They say there's a lot of Indian people that live here in our city, and we have a lot of Indian children that go to school. And so let's try to set an example to be adults about our history.
Why should people visit the murals at Robert Eagle Staff Middle School?
It's hard to explain. It's just something that your body feels. I got goosebumps. The hair stood on the back of my neck.
So, you know, if anybody needed an example to look to of an actual dream coming true, they can go to these schools and they can look at all the murals, and they're free to the public, you know, as they should be. On July 13th, 2017, an unveiling ceremony, dedication, and public presentation of the murals and honoring circle took place at the Robert Eagle Staff Middle School. Hundreds of people attended. There was a walking tour that started at Cascadia Elementary and then commenced to Robert Eagle Staff Middle School, ending in the honoring circle with a ceremony in front of the 4 large murals. It was a success.
You know, if 100 years from now we look back and they look at this unveiling of this work and what's been done here, I think they're going to say that was the first step to something greater.
If I could describe this site in one word, what would it be?
Proud.
Truth.
Youth.
Culture.
Cultural.
Critical.
Pride. Inspiring.
Outstanding.
Honesty.
Education.
Myself.
Marvelous.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Words of wisdom I would say to the people that would be here to teach the kids, and just for like any visitors that would come here.
That the history of the state of Washington in Seattle is very, very important. So begin to teach that history because it's very important.
And this should be a symbol of that history that needs to be taught and shared more.
You know, take it with love and compassion in your heart, because that we as Indian people, we took in a lot of people that come from different backgrounds, come from different ways of life.
Embrace the heritage that's been built around you. Use it as a tool to educate the students on the First Nations people.
You know, words don't describe them. If you haven't seen them, then you need to go out there and look at them. Look deep at those paintings, and if you don't come back with a different feeling in your heart, then you're not looking deep at them. Turn around and look at them again.
And I would talk mostly to the students is, don't ever let anybody say that you can't.
In order to be a leader, you have to follow somebody until you're the leader.
I would tell them to follow my lead, and I would tell them to make me their best friend.
San Andrew, Indian Sarastira, Erewa, there was Arlesti out, outside, he didn't there's Lira Wabe, and in its Arizona with Dagigandi, I would done what he had a Sorbana Kai here, and a stare by Kaya, you not a Kayo, a con stare not Carlet, we set out Arles, not a young, a Kohana, hi, hey, get done, hi, hey.